press junkets. Half this crowd won't write one word all the time they're on the trip.
All Mark Granger expects from me is the greatest series on Berlin ever written.
And you're just the girl to do it, Lizzie. Did you write down that name?
What name?
Oh, boy. Captain James Fenton, an old Army buddy of mine. He might be very useful.
I'll file it here.
There you go, file.
Well, Bart, your luggage is all taken care of. I'll do it any way you prefer. Airmail the piece from Berlin, or you can write it when you get back.
Isn't that Bartley King?
Oh, yeah, the great man himself.
It's funny how he resembles Mark. Still, at the same time, he doesn't. Not really.
Well, does he or doesn't he?
Well, it's just that of the two cousins, I'll bet your cousin Bart is no churchgoer.
Yeah, at the very least.
Nick! My goodness, it's good to see you again.
Hi, Bart. Mark said to convey his regrets. He really wanted to see you off, but with the waterfront strike, he can't leave his desk.
Oh, well, thank you. Don't tell me they shanghaied you onto this joyride.
Well, no, you're in luck. The Bulletin decided to send its glamour girl, Miss Lizzie Hogan of our Washington bureau.
Well, the assignment improves immediately.
You're very kind.
And Lizzie, in this corner, the great King Bart.
I see. You give a dog a bad name.
Who not only reports the news, but is the news wherever he goes.
Now, this is a great piece of journalism, Mr. King, even 20 years after.
That's very sweet of you.
Frankly, I've been wondering why you would even consider going on a routine press junket like this.
Oh, well, one of the magazines wanted me to do a piece to be called Berlin Revisited.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
Comparing the Germany I knew under Hitler with the Germany of today.
Passengers for the special press flight to Berlin, please go aboard.
Well, we better go.
Your plane is ready to depart.
After you, Miss Hogan?
Bart, why don't you go ahead? I have a message I have to give to Lizzie.
Oh, very well, Nick. Well, I'll see you.
Okay, Bart.
I'll see you aboard the plane, Miss Hogan.
Oh, yes, you certainly will. There are a million questions I'd like to ask you about this. What message, Nick?
Lizzie, baby, don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't lead with your chin. Don't start taking Bartley King under your gentle, loving wing. He's a loser.
How can you say that about him? He happens to be just the most important foreign correspondent of our time.
In his day, he was the best.
Miss Hogan?
No magazine is going to hire a has-been and send him all the way to Berlin, Nick.
Miss Hogan, please. You're the only passenger not yet aboard.
Oh, just a minute, please. What are you trying to tell me?
Well, just that... Well, just come back smiling, will you, Lizzie?
I'll be smiling, don't you worry.
I am Otto Masius, representative of the West German government.
How do you do?
We have a special section in the rear reserved for the ladies.
Oh, well, for the moment, is it all right if I just flop down anywhere?
Of course. May I take this way?
Oh, yes, of course, thank you.
All right, lock it up. Fasten your seatbelts, please. Now, could you hold it, if you please, for a second? Something you forgot, Mr. King?
Mr. King, surely you're not leaving already. Well, the party hasn't even begun yet, and you'll spoil all the fun. And there are so many questions I would like to ask you.
Well, in that case. All right, Otto. Let it roll. You may regret this, you know.
I doubt it.
Hey, we're halfway over the ocean. Point of no return.
Already?
Hey, Bart, if you want a hand in this game, you better come now. Later.
Bart,
Let's put it away, shall we, Lizzie?
Bart, after the war, why didn't you ever go back to Germany?
Does it matter?
Well, why didn't you ever write about Germany again?
Well, there was so much action elsewhere, I didn't choose to become a one-subject reporter.
What about Hilda? Do you ever hear from her?
Who?
Hilda. Oh, Bart, you mentioned her all through the book. Don't tell me you've completely forgotten her.
You know, Lizzie, I haven't looked at that book since the day it was published 20 years ago.
Let me read you something.
Oh, Lizzie, must you?
At first glance, I was antagonized by everything about her. That Nazi look of riding a horse through a conquered city.
I wrote that.
As a matter of fact, I could not have done Hilda a greater injustice.
I'll tell you a secret, Lizzie. Hilda never existed.
What?
She was a fiction. A composite I constructed out of a dozen other people whom I knew in Hitler's Germany.
This absolutely authentic account of life under Hitler, drawn from the author's secret diary.
Let me explain that. When I left Germany after Pearl Harbor and wrote this book, a number of very good friends of mine in Berlin were still fighting Hitler. I had to disguise their identities. Anything else would have been criminal on my part. It would have cost them their lives.
Of course. It's just that you made Hilda seem so real and so alive. I wondered how you could have forgotten her.
That was Sabina's own choice.
Sabina. Was that her real name?
Yes. And Colonel Wagen, a tank officer, and Heinz Heller, a newspaper reporter, and an old countess with a clubbed foot. Oh, Hilda was quite a crowd.
I'm sorry.
No, Lizzie, I'm sorry. It's just that with certain things, there must be a point of no return. Things which you file and forget.
Oh, Bart, please.
Time, the present, history in the making.
Don't do that.
Well, I don't know. When a girl invites a man to stay at the party, a girl who obviously knows her way around.
That isn't what I meant. That isn't what I meant at all.
We need fresh blood. Give me one.
Come on, Bart. Join the game.
And I raise you 10.
I fold.
And I bump you 10. 20 more.
You know, they tell me you once bluffed General Patton out of a winning hand with nothing but a great big frown.
That's your hand.
Come again, King Bart.
Take it.
The king is dead. Long live me.
Wake up, Bart. Bart, wake up.
What was it?
I think you were having a bad dream.
Are we friends again?
Coffee?
Thank you very much. Where are we?
Well, we're just about crossing over the Rhine.
The Rhine. That beautiful, unholy river.
Well, from here it shines like purest gold.
Beyond it lies a land of monsters and witches and ogres and lost children.
Hansel and Gretel?
Did you know the most terrifying fairy tales are all German? Once upon a time, many years ago, at the edge of a very dark forest, I'll never forget those voices.
Voices?
The lost children, crying out as they ran from the bloody knives.
What?
And falling as they ran.
What did she fall to?
I told you Hilda never existed.
Sabina, I mean. Did she fall in the forest?
Germany is not like any other land you've ever known. Be careful where that dark, twisted path might lead you. I wouldn't want you to be lost in that forest.
We are making record time. We'll soon be putting down in Berlin. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now you have seen it. The infamous war which divides our country. And today, on this anniversary of the war which the communists directed, we ask again, what did they accomplish? Did they lock us out or themselves into a prison of their own making? At our next stop, you'll hear some hard facts about the life lived on each side of the war.
I knew Berlin under the Nazis with all their marble monuments. I knew Berlin after the war when all the marble had turned to dust. But in this Berlin, I have lost my bearings.
Mr. King?
Yes.
I'm Colonel McDonald, Army Public Relations.
How do you do, Colonel?
You probably won't remember, but I was a shavetail with Patton's Third Army when you were the only war correspondent he allowed into his private mess.
Well, I'm sorry, but
Well, the one time we actually met, I was assigned to run some copy for you from a very forward position.
Well, my copy boy has certainly bettered himself. Oh, this is Miss Hogan of the New York Bulletin, chief ornament of our press party.
As a matter of fact, Miss Hogan, I'm now running a message for you.
Oh?
From Captain Fenton, Army Counterintelligence.
Oh, yes, I was going to look him up.
Well, he's out of Berlin on business. Said he'd call as soon as he could.
Good.
Also, my office got a query about you.
Oh, really? I can't think of anyone still left here who would ask for me.
Mr. Heinz Heller.
Heller?
He's one of the top newspaper editors in Berlin.
What did he want, Colonel?
Oh, just to be remembered to you.
Well, with our very tight schedule, much as I would like to see him again,
Just to be remembered, he said.
Ladies and gentlemen, we must move on. But first, let me introduce a countryman of yours, Lieutenant Colonel Walter McDonald, Army Public Relations.
Thank you. I know that some of you don't like to be limited to gang reporting. You'd much prefer to go off on your own.
You're here.
There'll be plenty of chance for that later on. For the moment, we ask that you stay together for certain group interviews that we've set up. Now, if you will, please, reassemble in the bus.
To excuse us for not announcing in advance the purpose of this particular meeting and for taking certain measures to safeguard the persons who will now address you as emissaries from the other side of the war. Each one of them a secret fighter against communism. And since every one of them holds a responsible position in the East German government, they are naturally very anxious to avoid any possibility of being identified.
Here we go again.
What?
First, a gentleman who is in a position to give you a clear picture of the economic realities on the other side of the war.
Ladies and gentlemen, for decades, the working class has been told that in embracing communism, they had nothing to lose but their chains.